But seeing how well Brad Pitt has treated women in the past, you might not want to go for that. Just because someone's not attracted to you doesn't mean you're not attractive. It just means you're not the person's type. Maybe they don't want a relationship right now because they just escaped a horrible man. I mean, they don't have to have a reason. People like me just don't want to deal with male drama anymore. And there's nothing wrong with that. But as long as churches, especially fundamentalist Christianity, worships and idolizes a male fantasy and a female fantasy, it's not going to help anybody. It just won't. You can't create a fantasy where women are seen as a prize. And I asked my therapist, why do women think that their wedding day is the most important part of their life? And they said, because the rest of their life is focused on the man. And it's so true. That's why weddings are women's days, because the rest of the marriage is centered around men. And it's so damaging. A healthy relationship is not when a man is in charge. It's when two consenting adults come together, create a life, with or without marriage. I prefer no marriage at all, because that just triples your chance of imploding. And sets boundaries, has rules, and keeps expectations to a minimum where one person doesn't feel like they're living their partner's fantasy of what a woman is. Just live life. I mean, you do not have to be or fit yourself into a cookie cutter relationship. Now, if a cookie cutter relationship makes you happy and makes you want to get out of bed in the morning and embrace life, fine. But you don't have to be anything you don't want to be. Personally, I can't stand cookie cutter things, but that's just probably a reaction to living in a religious culture where differences and individuality is seen as a threat, because it really is a threat to these people. And it's so sad how our society worships something that fails 2 out of 3 times. When women are 70%, so 7 out of 10 people who file divorce is women. Why any woman would chase something that has a 63% chance, depending where you are, of failing. I mean, the chance is higher than winning Powerball, but it's just not worth it. And it's not worth the entire fantasy. Instead of spending 20 grand, and I mean that's bare minimum. Some of the Kardashians, for 90 days of marriage, they spent millions. And my therapist says the more money you spend, you're just increasing your chance of divorce. And marriage doesn't even need to exist anymore. Trust me, with the economy, what you risk, like what you gain from filing taxes while being married is not worth the risk of divorce. Because if you get divorced, you're going to be paying and spending more money than you ever saved in taxes. The legal fees alone is a killer. Getting married just isn't worth it's just not worth it anymore. I mean, you spend up to 3 years of your life trying to get away from somebody. Just smart, wise people recognize the absurdity of worshiping something that fails 2 out of 3 times. And just because people stay together doesn't mean they're happy. It does not mean that they lost their identity, that they're in a safe place, and that they haven't given up every dream and happy thing they wanted when they were young. Longevity is no mirror or indicator of how healthy and good partners are. They're just not. And churches worship marriage where I attended. And it's just so straight, so boring, so patriarchal. I've never been to a funeral where anyone wore anything but black, and I've never been to a wedding where any bride doesn't wear white. I mean, the idea of these traditions is about ownership. And yes, women are still the property of men. We're just social property. We're gender property. We may not legally be a man's property, but our name, if you take a man's name, you're his property, especially if you file together. And, I mean, if you want to get married, fine. I just can never understand why people want to do something that fails, makes people unhappy, wastes hundreds of thousands of dollars, wastes people's time, has a great potential of having a toxic, unhappy, unhealthy disaster of an experience. Like, why? Why would you do that? If you're not married, all you have to do is leave and change your paperwork. Do you know how much faster it is to change a POA, your will, and what names are on property and leases? It doesn't take long. You print up something, you sign it in the presence of someone, and then if they have to, they file it, and you move on. It does not take very long. Imagine wasting so much money. Just because relationships end doesn't mean it was a bad relationship. Sometimes people just grow apart or they want different things. Some people completely change into a different person and they're no longer compatible, and it doesn't have to be because the person morphed into a monster. Sometimes people change religions, they change political parties, they get a degree and realize that they didn't know much and that they really don't want kids. People grow. The expectation that you're going to be married to someone for 50 plus years and that you're not going to grow apart and just no longer want to be married anymore is utter stupidity. There are people who grow and they just happen to grow closer. It's not common, but it happens. Most people grow apart. That's just the way it is. And conservative people want to get rid of no-fault divorce so men can control women. And if there's no-fault divorce, smart people will not even go near marriage. Because if they don't commit a crime and there's no adultery, you can't get out. And now you're legally and morally tied to an abuser for the rest of your life. There is no genuine reason to get married anymore, unless it's something you want. But anything you gain just isn't worth what you're going to be paying in divorce fees. Personally, why would you want to trap someone in marriage? Why would you promise something you can't most likely keep? Most vows, people don't keep them. And if you have rules where you want to be monogamous with people not looking at pornography and having a traditional nuclear straight family, 85% of the men you're married to watch pornography. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. There is something wrong with it if you lie and keep it secret. And these people who have biblical, godly marriages, or so they say, 85% of these men are lying. And if they were at a Charlie Kirk funeral, they're definitely lying. Because we know